Yeah, I heard about this thing happening. So, people told me that like some Serbian protests are going on right now. They're pretty crazy. I'm gonna be real though. I don't know anything about Serbia. Serbia is um. I only know this because of Food Guesser, because I play a lot of Food Guesser, which has helped me with my geography. But anyway, apparently there's like some big protests going on here. I don't really know much about it. But it's kind of becoming big, I think, like right here. Like these are from today. And there's like apparently like some huge protests going on. Dude, that's an insane amount of people. Huge crowds on the streets of Belgrade, Serbia tonight demanding the resignation of the president. So something happened with the president? Despite the scale of the protest, they received little coverage in the Western media. I'm gonna be 100% honest here. Most people don't care. Like, most people don't care about Serbia. I'm just being real. Until they can virtue signal about it, people don't care. So that's why it's not being covered by the media. I don't know if this. I don't think this is some fucking conspiracy or anything. I just think that most people wouldn't care about it, so that's why they don't cover it. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm just saying that people don't care about it because it's so far away, and until there's like some actual virtue signaling to be had, people won't care about it. That is a lot of people, though. All right, let's watch this video first, and then we'll take a look at some more of this footage. This one's by living ironically in Europe. Is that anime profile pic? Check. All right. How corruption kills Serbian protests. All right, let's see.
In 1883, Novi Sad, one of Austria-Hungary's largest cities and the biggest Serbian-inhabited city at the time,
Yeah, again, I don't know much about what's going on there, so
its first train station.
I'm just being honest. I don't know. I know even less about this than I know about Ukraine.
The building was nothing out of the ordinary and similar to many others in the empire, and mainly connected the city with other parts of Hungary. For decades it functioned normally, serving the local population to get around. After Austria-Hungary was disintegrated and Novi Sad was annexed by Yugoslavia, the city started growing in importance, with many new Serbian and Bosnian settlers flooding to Novi Sad. In a relatively short amount of time, the city grew to a size that was beyond the capacity for its infrastructure. As such, the communist government at the time embarked on a journey to renovate and expand the city to fit the needs of its citizens. One of the main infrastructure projects conducted by them was the demolishing of the old train station and the building of a new, more centrally located one. Hence, in 1964, the Novi Sad train station as we know it today was built. The station was built in a classical brutalist style and serviced connections throughout Yugoslavia and abroad, and quickly became a popular gathering place for locals. For years, the train station remained untouched and stood the test of time, proving to be reliable and quite efficient in servicing tens of thousands of passengers. Most notably of all, it became one of the defining buildings of the city and beloved by many. However, sometime in 2022, the mayor of Novi Sad, Miloš Vučević, announced that after 60 years, the train station was going to be fully renovated as a part of the fast rail project between Belgrade and Budapest, funded and executed in great part by the Chinese government.
我在北京
The renovation project would be undertaken by a Chinese construction company, starting, and would be executed via joint efforts of Serbia.
Yeah, this video is actually old. Yes, this is from 3 weeks ago. Whereas all this stuff happening right now is from right now. So yeah, just as you said, Revedesinav. That is a good
This
point.
was seen as nothing special, as for several decades now, China has been a key partner in developing Serbia's infrastructure and overall the infrastructure in the Balkans, with countries like Hungary, Greece, and North Macedonia openly working with the country in the strive to develop their nations. However, because the train station in Novi Sad carried such tremendous cultural and historic weight, the importance of the project was tremendous, and any and all botching of the project
Thank you,
would
Jacker.
reflect horribly on the ones responsible. As such, in 2023, in the effort to boost his PR and political standing, Serbia's president, Aleksandar Vučić, announced that he would come and visit the construction project, an event which would be broadcasted across national television. In an effort to make the project's progress look good, the construction started to be rushed, with many corners being cut. In one of the reports published by Zoran Ljajić, an engineer working on the project, Zoran stated that he submitted a photo to the authorities where behind one of the panels there was pieces of
my favorite flavor.
I know, right, Shago? Like, just using like low quality materials. Yeah.
He submitted a photo to the authorities where behind one of the panels there was pieces of concrete. The concrete was partially missing and was substituted with cement jackets crushed in order to fit smaller pieces of concrete inside the construction.
I don't know much about construction, but it does look pretty bad.
In another incident, Ljajić also apparently asked for the marble slabs in front of the building to be checked for the substrate under them and to repair the substrate and put up new marble slabs. Instead of doing that, allegedly the project artist just repainted the panels even though they needed to be fully replaced. Most notably, in the same year of Vučić's visit, before the project was finished, the news agency 021.rs asked the Ministry of Traffic to get documents about the reconstruction. However, the ministry denied their request, claiming that the Chinese project contractors do not wish for the documents to be available to the public before the end of the project. Besides that, one of the newest additions to the train station was the renovated canopy, which was envisioned to be reconstructed by having heavy glass, concrete, hard metal frames, and a green surface above it added. Many of the additions to the train station were not in the original project documents. Even so, in 2024, the train station was officially open to the public in a grand televised opening, even though, according to Serbian law, after the reconstruction of any building before it can be open to the public, it must possess an operating permit. The railway station did not obtain this. And so, for several months, the train station became
This is really interesting. Is this train station like is this the one thing that like broke the entire fucking country?
Again used by thousands, and even more than before considering Serbia now hosts a fast rail linking Belgrade and Novi Sad together, two of the country's largest and most important cities. And soon enough, the fast rail would extend all the way to Budapest, which would make the train station even more important. However, on November 1st, just 4 months after the train station was opened, its canopy, weighing over 300 tons, collapsed and crushed 14 people.
Well, guys, no one could have saw that coming.
Instantly killing them, gravely injuring 3 others, and killing another one 10 days after succumbing to her own wounds from the collapse. A tragedy which was almost unparalleled in modern history of the nation, and an event that completely shocked the entire country. Immediately after, 3 days of mourning were declared in Novi Sad, and 1 day in the entire country. People started hitting the streets en masse to mourn together and hold a period of silence for the victims. However, the Serbian government had different priorities. In the immediate media reports, most of which are controlled by the government and current ruling party, the Serbian Progressive Party, or colloquially known as SNS, the reports started stating that the old canopy had collapsed and how the canopy was not renovated since 1964, whilst at the same time completely glossing over the amount of victims the tragedy killed and their identities. This
Oh,
was
man.
preposterous and nothing less of dumping an entire bag of salt onto a gaping wound, and many Serbs saw it as such. Almost immediately after these reports were published, several engineers came out and publicly challenged the notion that the canopy was not renovated. Quickly after that, pictures started popping up showcasing the canopy before and after, clearly indicating that indeed it was affected during the renovation. In an aerial view of the building, the new canopy's design could be clearly seen, with green soil right on top of it. According to one theory, the soil which was put on top was not accounted for properly in the final calculations. It is believed that if the soil was real, it was able to hold on to moisture from rain and other weather conditions, which would further increase the strain on the structure's support. Examining the damage where the canopy broke, cracks and tears in the concrete could be seen where there were no beams, as well as rust in the metal that was tied the canopy to the
small to most
it's
that
like an
causes
epic
a huge
disaster.
issue in Serbia. A Serb sticking a bottle up his bum did cause the Yugoslavia to collapse and civil war to rage.
Wait, what? Is that real, Shaka? What are you... Thank you for the bits. Is that... Wait, what? Wait, that's actually true? No. No way. The Dord Martinovic incident, when a Serb farmer from Kosovo was the center of a notorious incident in 1985 when he was treated for injuries caused by the insertion of a glass bottle into his anus. What? On 1st of May 1985, Dord Matinovic, a 56-year-old resident of the Kosovar town of Jalan, arrived at the local hospital with a broken bottle wedged in his rectum. He claimed that... Oh, God. He claimed that he had been attacked by two Albanian men while he was working in the field. After being interrogated by the Yugoslav People's Army colonel, Martinovic reportedly admitted that his injuries were self-inflicted in a botched attempt at masturbation. But, like, why a bottle? Public investigators reported that the prosecutor made a written conclusion from which it appears that the wounded performed the act of self-satisfaction in his field and put an empty glass bottle of sparkling water on a wooden stick, stuck it into the ground, and after that he sat on the bottle and enjoyed. Oh my God. Okay, so the case was met with a flood of nationalist and anti-Albanian statements in the Serbian press, and this was in of itself a significant development. The Yugoslav government had for many years
It was like the spark that lit the dry hay barn that was Yugoslavia.
Except that it was the bottle that went up the guy's ass that started the whole thing. Oh my gosh. And then they're saying that that he was attacked by these people and it wasn't him sticking it up his ass. Oh my God. It like became a race war. They wrote poetry about it. With the broken bottle on a stake, as though through a lamb but alive, they went through Dord Matinovic, as if with their first and heavy steps into the future field they treaded. When out of opium and pain, Dord Matinovic came around, as if the long past Turkish times he woke up on the stake. Pyromaniac says, if the bottle was on a stake, it means he shoved the thick part up first? Yeah. Putting someone on a bottle is purely Slavic fun? What the fuck?
The main structure. Furthermore, in the original project plans, the attic was envisioned to be empty, but later on, glass was added on top of it. The design upon further examination appeared to be flawed from the get-go, as the weight of the canopy was mainly supported by cantilever beams instead of columns, which would have provided additional load support, especially in the case of the additional weight added on top of it.
There is a reason
the evidence
Chinese
was damning,
concrete
and the
is
people were
tofu. It's very well documented that they cut corners on construction.
I have heard that as well, optimistic pessimist. Thank you for the bits. I've heard that too.
In the case of the additional weight added on top of it. The evidence was damning.
That story is in the annals of history.
and the people were expecting answers. However, the elected officials would refuse to give any statements regarding the project nor release further documents on the project, instead choosing to focus on preserving their image and PR. This, as you can imagine, did not sit well with the public at all. The station, as I mentioned before, was extremely popular since its inception and used by thousands daily, be it to commute to work, university, home, or just to hang out with friends. Virtually every student in the region used the station regularly, and virtually it could have been any one of them lying under the rubble. And so, immediately after the government denied accountability, thousands rushed to the street to protest. 4 days after, due to the immense pressure from the public, the Minister of Construction, Traffic and Infrastructure, Goran Vesic, resigned. During his resignation, he still maintained his innocence and the lack of involvement in the project, even though on numerous occasions before, he was constantly in PR videos promoting the station and his party's works.
That is one of those things that will never leave you. You could say it was jarring.
True. 500 Trekman, thank you so much for the bits.
Constantly in PR videos promoting the station and his party's works in pushing Serbia forward. As this was going on, the independent media was working diligently to uncover and publish documents related to the renovation works of the train station and uncovering the roles of those involved in the command chain of the project. The public started calling for the apprehension and jailing of those responsible, mainly the state higher-ups. The government, seeing it could not hide the disastrous collapse of the Canopy under the rug, then proceeded to shift the narrative in an effort to avoid blame to also finding and prosecuting those responsible, starting up an investigation and interviewing around 50 workers in the lower end of the project's chain of command, essentially trying to find an adequate scapegoat to shift the blame. Although more and more documentation was hitting the public's eye, the state's prosecutor's office, however, remained silent, and no action was being taken to prosecute the state's prosecutor's office.
Dude, I don't know what this writing is, but it looks like a bunch of emojis. Doesn't it? It just looks like a bunch of faces. Like here.
However, remained silent, and no action was being taken to prosecute those responsible for the tragedy. What was enough, and even more people went to the streets to protest, with a large mob of protesters forming right outside of Novi Sad town hall, with the public demanding that the government actually do something and prosecute those involved in the reconstruction project. The protest held was peaceful, with people gathering around to make noise and scream their demands at the government. However, amongst this crowd, several fully masked persons appeared.
You know, like this one where they do like this, they do like that one. Like, see, it's like right there, like it's like little emojis.
Who started vandalizing the town hall and nearby buildings by breaking their windows and spray painting graffiti
for
over
1 minute
them. Within the town hall, a police force was
inconceivable,
stationed.
quite possibly unobtainable.
Thanks, Shago. Thank you for the bits. Yeah, I mean, that entire area is kind of just PvP enabled. Like, all the way down, right? Like, this is, like, freaking PvP. Like, right here. Like, this entire, like, area. All the way down here. Including all of this area. This entire thing here. And then, like, here. And it, like, goes like this. This is all like PvP zone.
Who started vandalizing the town hall and nearby buildings by breaking their windows and spray painting graffiti over them. Within the town hall, a police force was stationed tasked with protecting the building. However, despite only a handful of these masked persons vandalizing, they took no action whatsoever to prevent them, even though the thousands of other protesters condemned the vandals as actions. The same night, President Vučić was scheduled to come and visit the city and hold a speech regarding the tragedy. However, instead of going to any public space or building, Vučić only visited SNS party buildings. Upon his arrival, most of the SNS venues were severely vandalized, with their windows being broken, red paint scattered all over the venues' exteriors, and the Serbian flag being ripped apart. Now, unlike in other countries, predominantly Western ones, where flag desecration is seen as a valid form of protest and more or less a regular occurrence, in Serbia this is far from the case. Serbians, no matter their political orientation, deeply care for their state and flag. Desecrating the Serbian flag in Serbia is virtually unheard of and incomprehensibly frowned upon, as the flag is not seen as representing the government, but the people. The flag being ripped apart and
It should represent the people, not the government.
the police not
I think they're onto something, honestly.
taking action in preventing the town hall vandals aroused suspicion that the government was behind the violent attacks in an effort to bastardize the image of the protesters, a move that is unfortunately very prevalent in the current Serbian political landscape, and has been seen numerous times before, as was the case with the bulldozing of the 12 buildings in Savamala. Suspicions further arose when Vučić held a speech in front of one SNS venue where he made a fuss about the desecrated flag and how he'll put those who've done that to justice. Again, completely glossing over the tragedy and victims and trying to antagonize the protesters. The same night, the police dressed in civilian clothing made their way to the protests and arrested 14 people, mainly peaceful student protesters, whilst the vandals disappeared with no trace. The next day, after the town hall protest, the government held a session in which they condemned the protesters and publicly accused the opposition for organizing them. In an effort to show how they were doing something, several ministers resigned and 12 people were jailed due to the fall of the Canopy. Amongst the jailed persons was Vesic and another
And that's just the same thing in Russia. The flag is a symbol of the Russian people.
minister. However, just after a couple of days in custody,
I think that's
both
ideal,
were released,
rather
while
than
the
it
14
being a
students remained
government
in prison.
symbol.
As rumor has it, the incarcerated ministers were provided with newly renovated rooms with comfortable beds specifically suited for their needs, while at the same time, the imprisoned students were placed in
Is that
full
Travis?
rundown prisons with pests, parasites like lice, and mold being present. This just further made the Serbian populace's blood boil, and protests started erupting all over the country, with thousands organizing and blocking traffic in silence. In one of the traffic blockade protests, a student was physically attacked by several passerbys, whose identities were later revealed to be of several SNS functionaries. On November 25th, due to the attack on one of their students, the University of Dramatic Arts in Belgrade rose up in a mass protest, with the students taking over the campus and establishing a blockade of the university. The students made their demands simple and public: release the identities of the attackers from the previous protest and prosecute them in full force according to the law.
Yup.
Things start to snowball as this event sparked even more protests and traffic blockades, with more and more students and civilians coming out to put the country to a halt. However, as more came out to the streets to protest, more violent clashes started occurring, with more passerby attacking the protesters, and several vehicles even running students over. Meanwhile, all this chaos was unfolding, the prosecutor's office was still not taking any action, with no indictments nor convictions taking place, and the attackers freely walking away. With the people's voice falling on deaf ears, the students took matters into their own hands. Day after day, one university after another got taken over by the student body, and a spring of blockades erupted, with classes grinding to a halt. As of writing this video, all public universities in Belgrade, Novi Sad, Niš, and Kragujevac have been taken over by students and have been blockaded, while
That's
even
a
more
lot of
public
people
and private
protesting.
universities are joining their ranks. Unable to be ignored, this hit
There's a lot of people protesting, and they're not even in it for free shit. That's crazy.
national and international news, bringing the Serbian government into the limelight.
In America, a lot of protesters just want free shit.
Fashion, government officials would state to the press that these protests are funded and organized by the local opposition and foreign powers, providing virtually little to no evidence to support their claims. To be fair, on one of the protests, two notorious oppositionary MPs, Dragan Đilas and Marinka Tepic, joined the protest and took pictures holding one of the banners, after which they immediately left. However, the students directly slammed the government accusations by refusing any and all party affiliation, acting completely as sovereign actors. You see, unlike many other revolutions, the Serbian student one was organized without ideological grounds. The student body rising up is composed of many people from all corners of the political compass. The main demands of the students are the complete publishing of documents of the train station reconstruction project done in the mutual effort by Serbia and China, dropping charges of the arrested student protesters, for the police to officially sue the persons who attacked students and professors protesting, as well as a 20% increase for universities.
They just like throw this one in there like at the end. It's like, yeah, this bad thing happened. Like, fuck. I'm like, okay. Drop the charge on the students. Okay, okay, all right, sure. Suing the people who beat them up. All right, okay. Then give us 20% more money. Like, I don't know about that.
Funding. While in Novi Sad, the students have
just like
additional
added
demands,
it on to the end. Give us some more money.
Milan Đurić and his predecessor resign. The organization and idea for the blockades was almost exclusively spread via word of mouth and social media. The decision to blockade a university was made via a democratic vote, with many universities utilizing their student portals, giving each student the option to decide whether or not for their university to declare a blockade, with the vast majority of students voting in favor. Additionally, the blockades have been organized into their own representative bodies and delegates whose members are democratically elected, and changed if the group sees them as not fulfilling their elected.
You want to know what? I'm not saying this is what's happening here, but you know what's really, really annoying is when people do this in like public schools for like kids, where they're like, oh yeah, a bunch of kids like decided, you know, a bunch of high schoolers decided, you know, that they didn't like this thing, so they all walked out and they all protested. Most of those guys just want to get out of class. They actually don't give a shit. They just want to get out of class for free.
Duties, with no one person being the face of the movement. Within the blockaded university,
because I do it. If I had school and they're like, you want to go protest some shit to like get out of class, you know, because there's like a test today, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah.
anyone who is not a student and doesn't possess a student ID, known in Serbia as an index booklet, is denied entrance. Alongside this, the media is also barred from entering unless the blockading students democratically vote to allow them inside. Although several political parties reached out to help support the students, they have all been rejected, while the main way the students sustain themselves is via the donations regular citizens make, with many pensioners regularly stopping by the universities and bringing them food in an act of solidarity. Since the eruption of the student revolution, the government has constantly publicly diminished them, called them easily influenced by foreign powers, and called on them to abandon their posts and return to
Russian propaganda,
so they can work for a side that's actually looking out for them,
it's all
implying
propaganda.
the current state. Although initially the president
government
claimed that the students are attempting to overthrow the government, later he claimed that all their demands have been met, showcasing empty registers that were allegedly all the documents about the railway station, whilst also printing out allegedly random words on a piece of paper and again showcasing it to the public, claiming these were all the important documents relating to the project and claiming that they were now published as they were shown on television. After these attempts proved futile, he then claimed he already met all the demands, and to
I was more making a joke about how anything that you don't believe, anything that you don't agree with is propaganda.
Demands, and to sweeten the deal, promised to give subsidies to young people for the purchase of their first home. However, the students continued protesting as they stated that for the purchase of and to sweeten the deal, promised to give subsidies to young people for the purchase of their first.
Oh my god, they're just giving them money. That's so fucking corrupt. I hate when the government does this. They just like give people money to like don't be mad at me, here's money. I hate it.
However, the students continued protesting as they stated that the president of Serbia does not hold jurisdiction over the institutions that are responsible for meeting their demands. The student body also claimed that they are demanding for the proper work of the Serbian.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about like the student debt forgiveness too. It just feels like a total bribe.
Government institutions and for them to do their job. Even so, after the announcement was made by President Vučić, on the official state website, documents regarding the renovation project started to be published. Alongside this, the budget increase for university funding was adopted. But this was yet still far from the demands imposed by the students, and the blockades continued. In backlash, the government continued to diminish the protests, claiming that more students oppose the blockades than they support them, even though universities decided via a democratic process to enact them, and the numbers clearly state the opposite. Further, student bodies from ex-Yugoslav republics voiced their support of the Serbian protesters and organized morale-raising events for them. Nevertheless, on December 22nd, 2024,
Damn, Croatia
the largest
makes
of
good
the
guns.
protests was held in Belgrade at Slavia Square, where over 100,000 people gathered and held 15 minutes of silence for the victims
The gun
of
on
the
my
train
desk is,
station Canopy. While the period
The
of
gun on my desk is from Croatia. HS product, made in Croatia.
silence was held, thousands turned on the flashes of their cameras to show their
Oh, what guns does Croatia make? This is my Hellcat. Hellcat is by Springfield Hellcat is by HS product, made in Croatia. Celebratory desktop. No, I'm very careful with my guns. There's like no fucking way I would desktop or accidentally like make a mistake or something like that. I always double triple check everything.
presence. Following afterwards, the protesters made their presence known by making noise via
I kinda want the
whistles and
Hellion.
vuvuzelas. The president of the National Assembly, Ana Brnabić, claimed that the protest was aimed at Aleksandar Vučić, and the government again tried to diminish the protesters by claiming there were only 25,000 people present. According to the government, the state utilized a custom-made software for counting people at protests, and that's how they got that number. Later on, they backtracked on the statement that there were only 25,000 people counted, but 18,000 instead. As of writing this video, the students and the government are in a standstill.
So this has been going on for a while, actually. So again, this video is from 3 weeks ago. So this has been going on for a while, and like I guess it's kind of increasing today.
Though some concessions were made by the government, the majority of the demands are still unfulfilled, mostly those relating to bringing the ones involved in the train station project and those attacking students to justice. The biggest event that transpired since the Slavia protest was the resignation of the Prime Minister Miloš Vučević, after several protesters were attacked, yet again, by SNS functionaries during a protest in front of an SNS venue, which ended up in one woman being taken to the hospital. However, the status quo of the country being at a standstill due to the blockades remains, and more smaller universities located in smaller cities and towns join their peers. In addition to this, it is theorized that the Serbian Ministry of Security Information has been trying to target students by creating websites where the student protesters would be doxxed via their full names,
Oh my
faces,
God.
and addresses being showcased, and malware and spyware infecting protesters' devices. In one instance, two dual national citizens of both Serbia and Croatia had their Croatian passports published in the government-owned.
Do you guys see it? Little emoji here. There's one right here, and then there's like one right here. This one too.
Press, which is a severe breaking of the law. And moreover, the media intensified their witch hunt over the two dual nationals by claiming how they were a part of the Ustaše Croatian Nazis, with the only evidence supporting this claim. At the blockade, where they were active, the students utilized a Croatian cookbook. Furthermore, the media propagated the insane theory how the cookbook was supplied to them via the Ustaše secret services with instructions. However, the students have refused to budge and refused to be intimidated until all their demands are met, with many spinning the situation to humor by creating creative and hilarious signs to scrutinize the government.
Dude, this one right here. Oh my god. These are peak.
Furthermore, although President Vučić and his party, SNS, have created more or less a one-party state and
Yeah,
have
the
established
Vegeta
a
too,
strong
yeah.
voter base amongst the middle-aged and senior population, their support has started to corrode, as many of them have kids and grandkids who are involved in the protests and have been targeted directly and indirectly by the government. Many farmers and lawyers have also joined the protests, with many of them now coming with tractors to major protests, which they utilize as shields against the police and cars that would attempt to run over the protesters, which as a whole has severely damaged the trust in the current ruling party, making the older population, which has been the party's loyal voting base, re-examine their stance towards the government. As of most recent events transpiring, 2 major 24-hour protests occurred on the Belgrade highway near the city, and 3 on the bridges in Novi Sad, which were blockaded
Man.
symbolically for 3 hours for the 3 months
The
that
Egyptian
the
god
protests have been
cards
going
are
on,
Serbian.
while another
Exodia is Serbian. That.
Thanks for the Vichego.
Publicly for 3 hours for the 3 months that the protests have been going on, while another protest occurred on the Novi Sad Freedom Bridge, which was blockaded for 27 hours, which allegedly has been the largest protest, overshadowing the Slavia one with over 300,000 attendees.
That's
right
a
now,
lot
it
of
is
people.
unknown what the result of this revolution will be, as the student body refuses to budge, and due to the mass scale of the people involved, the government cannot utilize direct force to disband the protests. Doing so would be political suicide and potentially open Pandora's box for a revolution Serbia hasn't seen since the fall of Milosevic. As such, they must tread carefully, as one wrong move can be the end of Vucic and SNS as we know it. Hopefully, the students will be able to get all their demands met with their fight. Perhaps the Iron Curtain of corruption in this country can...
I don't know. I kind of feel like them adding like the extra 20% bonus money for students is kind of it's a little. I don't know about that. How did I unlock it? I just like looked up a website for it, like to like copy and paste it and stuff. But yeah, it's that's a little weird to like have that
come to an
attached
end.
to it.
Serbia can see brighter days for its citizens, where no
But
man
I guess
is
they
above
have
the law.
I guess they have so many people that they can do that now. And it's like this is like kind of happening like right now. Another video from Belgrade showing a huge scale protest taking place against President Vucic tonight, and they're demanding the resignation of the Serbian president.
As usual, politicians
it's so
trying
loud.
to dodge responsibility and going into a siege mentality has only worsened the position of both the party and nation as a whole.
Yeah, true. Thanks for the prime, Black Ops Interact. Yeah, I mean, they let it get this big, right? Like, they can't even do anything anymore. Like, at this point, you kind of just have to, like, give in, right? Like, what do you do at this point? There's, like, this is, like, an insane amount of people. Like, that's, like, too many people. Oh, what the heck? Wait, what happened? Wait, what? Wait, what happened? Read the tweet. I'm gonna be real, bro.
Not the video.
Oh, they're using
the
LRADs.
tweets.
They're using LRADs. Yeah, I know what these are. The government is using LRAD devices, sound cannons, during 15 minutes of silence with the idea of causing the stampede and confusion. I know, you know, do you know why I know about LRADs? Because I watched Whale Wars. Anybody else in chat watch Whale Wars? They used these in Whale Wars. They were like shooting each other with LRADs. Yeah, it's basically like a dish that just like amplifies sound. It sends a like an acoustic. It's an acoustic weapon, but it's targeted. Like it's like a beam basically. Like it's not like a typical sound where it kind of spreads out. It's like a tunnel. It's basically like a very direct, like small tunnel of sound. Yeah, it directionalizes sound. Yeah, exactly. So they're doing a moment of silence. Oh shit. Is that like a Starlink? So they're just blasting people with LRADs? Oh shit. Oh crap. Look at that. It's like Moses, dude.
A full
Dude, I
power
wonder-
LRAD can pop eardrums real quick. And worse. Least they aren't using the microwave weapon the
Wait,
US
what
has
the
and can use
microwave
against
weapons?
crowds.
Shago, thanks for the bits. A full LRAD can pop. So what, they're just using like the highest setting? Yeah, dude. Because these people like they fucked off real quick. You know, if it was just like if it was just an annoying sound, it wouldn't have this effect, right? Like a really annoying sound wouldn't like do this level of like man. I wonder what it would be like to just get freaking hit by that. Man, that's crazy. This is like super crazy, like this kind of sound weapons. Yeah, they use this. Dude, when was Whale Wars was a long time ago. Well, this isn't like new technology. Like this has been around for a while. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, I remember watching this and they were using these. Sound is literally compressed airwaves. You will physically feel it. Using that kind of thing against a peaceful civilian smells like a war crime. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the power of it. I mean, obviously it was very strong, right? To like kind of create this effect. And I really wonder what it would be like. Like that's crazy. Like how fast it dispersed the people. Anyway, that's kind of it. I don't really know much about the Serbia stuff, to be honest. This is all kind of new to me. I just found out about it today.